It's the all-wheel drive event at Lithia Ford of Boise. From hunting trips to ski trips to trips to Grandma's house. Nobody does AWD like LFB, Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Eat Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the flaming hot grilled cheese burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
The final buzzer is sounded on another night of Mountain West basketball, and it's time to break down the action with Tom Mosser on another night in the Mountain West, presented by Circus Sports. Headed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament in March? Make sure to stay at Circa Las Vegas and watch all the action at Stadium Swim, where the sports are on 365 days a year. Another night in the Mountain West has interviews, analysis, opinions after the final Mountain West basketball game of the day wraps up. All BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. The title sponsor of Bronco Nation News is Lithia Ford of Boise. Check out our full inventory of vehicles online at lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Did your team just get a big win? Suffer a bad loss? Come discuss it with us. Send us a comment or question in the ICCU YouTube chat, or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/BNN. Now let's go to the Sun Cruiser Studios and join Tom Mosser for another night in the Mountain West on Bronco Nation News.
What's up, everybody? You know where you're at. You found another night in the Mountain West. Full night of action here. 5 games. Really good action. Lot to get to here. I'm your host, Tom Mosser. Joining me tonight will be B.J. Rains, of course. You see him on the left of your screen. We'll also be joined a little bit later by the one and only Jeff Grammer, who was live at Moby Arena tonight watching the Lobos take down the Rams. And we're also scheduled to be joined by not one, but 2 victorious head coaches tonight, Vance Wahlberg of the Fresno State Bulldogs and Sundance Wicks of the Wyoming Cowboys. So let's get right to it. BJ, how are you tonight, my man?
I'm great, man. I'm cracking open this Sun Cruiser, our sponsor here. And by the way, I found my local gas station, Jackson's, one of our sponsors here in Boise. 25 ounces, by the way. This is the double-sized can here, though. So this is I'm going to enjoy this. We're going to have quite the logistical challenge here on the show. So we've got 2 coach interviews. We have Jeff Grammer. We have stats to put on the screen. This is going to be by far, if we pull it off, our best and craziest show. But Sundance Wicks and Vance Wahlberg, just being completely honest, we're not sure how many times we're going to be able to get them on this year. So they both had big wins, and we said, let's try to get them on tonight, and they both obliged. So we're going to try to make that happen. And 5 games, busy action. I'm just here to help you out. This is your show, Tom, and I know you're going to do. I'm going to let you do and hope you do most of the talking, because nobody on here wants to hear me talk, especially not San Diego State fans or New Mexico fans or some of them. So should be a fun night. I'm just going to kind of help run the show behind the scenes. But look, we got to start, man, with the game we just saw, San Diego State and Nevada, and then we'll get to Sundance Wicks after that. And like I said, Wahlberg and Jeff Grammer, I think he went back to his hotel, by the way. So I don't think we're keeping him at Moby Arena. He's going to head back to the hotel. And I think Eric Olin, we may even hear from him as well. So it's going to be a full show. We'll see what happens. It's 1:36 in the morning on the East Coast, man. I'm not paying you enough to do this. This is I really appreciate you staying up this late. A lot of people probably watching this tomorrow at some point, but yeah, man, happy to be here and going to be a fun show.
Well, you mentioned the game that just kind of went final, and you know what? Didn't know what we were going to get from San Diego State tonight. I'll be honest. They have the talent. We all know that. Have not played well on the road in the last couple of seasons. Roster's a little bit different, but the big storyline is they're coming off of that 3 overtime classic. I guess short travel, right? Saturday night to Tuesday night, going to Lawler. Nevada's played well. Now, wins against Boise and at CSU. 6 or 7 wins in a row for the Pack. So game was never going to be easy for San Diego State. And then the way Nevada started off the game with a double-figure lead, credit to San Diego State. I tweeted out at halftime when it was only a 2-point game, and Nevada felt like they carried the play. Oftentimes you end up ruining that because you should be up by more, and that's exactly what happened. The Aztecs dug in defensively in the second half. Credit to them. I needed to see it first, right? I was skeptical. Have not seen it against the better competition this year by and large from this group, and they did it. And that's a credit to them. And right here you see it, wins like that win you titles. And that's a very fair comment. Wins like that win you titles. Road games, when you win road games against top half teams, that's like a win and a half in the standings. We all know it's a win. It's a win the same in the standings as a home win against Air Force is in the standings. But make no mistake about it, not many teams are going to win at Nevada this year. Boise went there and lost by double figures. And we just saw Boise play neck and neck, toe-to-toe with this very same San Diego State team. So night in and night out, you just don't know what you're going to get. So huge credit to San Diego State. Their defense won it in the second half. Miles Heide with a massive and one putback. Really, the last 2 or 3 buckets, aside from the free throws that the Aztecs got, were offensive rebounds. And, look, first shot offense isn't how San Diego State gets it done often. They do it with their work on the glass. And that's kind of what happened here. Nevada, they just didn't make enough shots in the second half. BJ has the stats up there. Bailey, 5 for 13. Camper, 4 for 11. Comer, 5 for 15. So that's right there, 14 as I do some quick math. 14 for almost 40, 14 for 39. Not very good. We've talked about TR, Tyler Rollison, who had 2 great games in a row the last week. What does he do tonight? A bagel. 0 for 2 from the floor, 15 minutes. So this speaks to what I've warned about Nevada fans with the return of Camper, who was injured. It's not as easy and seamless as you want it to be, right? Yes, you want all your guys in the lineup, but you were firing on all cylinders when Camper was out. Okay, it's not his fault. We're not laying the blame at Camper's feet here, but it's tough to get everybody on the same page and playing well. And now since TR had 2 good games, Comer was off. None of them seemed to really play well tonight. San Diego State clearly deserves credit for that. But, the fact is, you're not going to win games shooting with your 3 guards shooting 14 for 39. BJ, what did you happen to see in this game? Any thoughts?
Well, I'm just give San Diego State a lot of credit, man. After that triple overtime game against Boise that I was at there on Saturday, and emotional game for them, quick turnaround on the road on a Tuesday night. That's not easy. And I think I heard on the broadcast they were only 6-6 at Nevada all time coming into this game. So, I mean, they've played, 6-6 is okay, but not great,
right,
in terms of a record for them on the road. So a place that they've struggled a little bit at times, and to go on the road, and they were down first half, 7 or 8 points at one point, or at least 6
they were
points.
They were down double figures.
Okay, so they were. I mean, to go triple overtime, have to play on 2 days rest, and to be down double figures. I give San Diego State a ton of credit. I know Guath was in some foul trouble. Compton was in some foul trouble. But give those guys credit. And we've talked all about it, but their bench, man, continues to be a strength for them. And when they're in, and I know, I guess Guath technically came off the bench, but when there's other guys that, when they get into foul trouble or guys are having an off night, and it was kind of a San Diego State type game. When you look at the box score, Bird with 14 and then 4 guys with 10. Dixon Waters, Heidi, you mentioned. Davis was good in the second half. I thought 6 of 7 from the foul line. And then, de Goreville was 10 points also. So a very balanced scoring attack from San Diego State. And I know Nevada was a slight favorite, and I really thought that was a good spot for Nevada and a tough spot for San Diego State. Coming back after that game the other night, but huge for them, as you said, bench points, 37 of their 73, and they only led for 14 minutes. Nevada led for 21 minutes, and they found a way late to make some plays there, like you said, the end one, and that's a really, really nice win for San Diego State.
Yeah, 100%. Because look, I said this the other night. If you're Nevada, this was a game you expected to win. You never really go into a season expecting to beat San Diego State home or away, especially a team as talented as they are this year. But the way that the two teams had played leading up to today, in your gym, you expect to win that game. You don't expect to get outscored by the bench 37-9. Your bench has played well this year. And, San Diego State has a good bench too. There's no doubt about it. But outscored 37-9 at home. Did not expect that. And again, as the first comment that I showed says, these are the games that win you championships. So they now sit at 4-0, and with 2 wins back-to-back against 2 of the other top 3 or 4 teams in the conference in Boise State and now at Nevada. So they're starting to kind of reach maybe not where we thought they'd be preseason, but look, they're 4-0 and all of their goals are in front of them. If you're Nevada, how are you going to bounce back? Because they're going to have some difficult games coming up. We've talked about, well, we'll get to that in a little bit, but I mean, there's no off nights in this conference. You can't let one loss beat you twice. This one will sting a little bit. You got to move forward the same way San Diego State did. I will give them credit. As I said at the top, was not sure they could get the job done. They did. You mentioned Davis, and it was different guys because Compton had a very good first half. He was kind of invisible in the second half. They're still not getting a lot from Guath overall. Waters was kind of inconsistent. I will give Bird props tonight. He continues to be more active, not playing perfect basketball, and he's not playing player of the year type of basketball, but his play has improved over the last few weeks. And if it continues on that trajectory, then they do have the potential to kind of get maybe reach what we thought they could be in the preseason. Dutch making an adjustment down the stretch to not switch to ball screen with Price was a difference. Yeah, Price is very active. He's a load inside, right? You saw some quotes from Vance Wahlberg, who we're hoping to speak with in a little bit, before the Nevada game. And it wasn't when Fresno played Nevada, it wasn't a shot at Price. It was more just like crediting Price, saying he's not a true like low post player. He's not Kevin McHale with his moves down in the post for you old timers, but he finds a way to get it done because he's just so strong and athletic, and he can finish. And Dutcher, credit Dutcher with his adjustment there. He also drew up a great play out of the timeout with I think 4 to go. Sent out a tweet. Nevada was up 1. Aztec ball. He drew up a great play. They dump it inside. Tic-tac-toe for a layup for Guath. That gave them the lead. It did yo-yo back and forth there, so that wasn't the ultimate bucket that provided the margin, but it was a nice set by Dutcher out of timeout. So good job by the staff tonight. I don't think they had their best year so far as a staff, but they certainly made the right calls tonight. So big win for the Aztecs, and that's one that's going to carry some weight in a lot of different ways, on the bubble later on for seeding in the league to get up to win the league title. So this is one that for both teams will have repercussions moving forward. Yeah, and they come back. Now they get Fresno State at home on Saturday, and then they go to Wyoming, and that's always a game that, we're going to hopefully talk to Sundance Wicks as well, but they get out of that game a lot. San Diego State has not had to go to Wyoming a lot. They hate doing it because they play at sea level, and it's the 7,000 feet, and the league stuck it to them this year and said, you got to go to Wyoming this year. And so that'll be an interesting game. But then they get New Mexico at home. You look at their schedule. I mean, this is
they're sitting there at 4-0, and we'll put the standings up a little later. But this is an opportunity, I think, for them to win some games here and get this thing back on track. It's been an up and down season for them, but like I said, I was very impressed tonight. It didn't look great. I was thinking they'd lose after the Boise game. It just felt like a good spot for Nevada, but hats off to San Diego State. And I will say, Tom, you got 276 people right now watching on your Twitter. If we can get those people to come over to the YouTube channel, that would be preferred moving forward here. So you see at the bottom of the screen, our YouTube channel is showing, Tom, youtube.com/@Mountain West BNN. So if you're watching on Twitter right now, whether it's Tom's Twitter, my Twitter, youtube.com/@Mountain West BNN. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel. Watch our shows live on YouTube. It's much easier to get the comments in, much easier for you to chat and with other folks in the chat. If you're on Twitter watching and you put a comment on here, no one else sees it. So go to YouTube, watch all of our shows there. You can turn on the notifications so you know when we go live each night for a show. But it's youtube.com/@Mountain West BNN. And I haven't told Tom this yet. I was going to tell him on the phone, but I might as well tell him now. I'm going to start giving Tom some bonuses here on his checks every month for the YouTube subscribers. So, Tom, you get some more YouTube subscribers there. Maybe every 100 YouTube subscribers, we add another zero to that paycheck or something. I don't know. Or we give you another free game check. But let's get the YouTube subscriber going, and we're going to make Tom a little more money here. Help him out.
Yeah, I don't push that enough. I actually forgot to plug it in the last episode, which I realized after I logged off. And I appreciate everybody tuning in on through the Twitter feed. But for sure, that's why we want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch it through there. As BJ said, it does help us out. And just one last point there, BJ mentioned the trip to Wyoming. This was, San Diego State's third road game and first at altitude. Never easy. Now, granted, it's not Wyoming altitude, but it's altitude, and they were tough, as tough, if not tougher, than Nevada down a stretch. So full credit to the staff here. As the last comment on this one for now says, big Q1 win. Hopefully the defense is going to keep showing up. Yes, they haven't played it for 40 minutes. They did for 20 minutes against Boise and 20 minutes against Arizona, but games are not 20 minutes long. So if they can do that, then they're going to be a problem. That's all there is to it. They have the talent. You just need to put it together over the course of 40 minutes. So good win by the Aztecs. Let's move on to the penultimate game that ended, and that was Wyoming and UNLV.
Let's reset for 1 second, Tom, if you don't mind. Folks are just jumping in. They missed the beginning. We are later in the show going to have Vance Wahlberg, Fresno, big win for them. Jeff Grammer is going to join us. So if you're a New Mexico fan, we are going to talk New Mexico, maybe even hear from Eric Olin as well. We'll spend a little time, but not much, on the Utah State win. Not a whole lot needs to be said about that, but we will get to every game tonight. We still have multiple interviews, things to go. And as we get going on this Wyoming game, we are going to have Sundance Wicks, one of my favorite coaches in the league, joining us here shortly.
All right. Well, thanks for reminding me of that stuff, BJ. Yes, good to know that we will get Sundance. We were hoping to get Sundance. So, game got TV billing, right? And look, these decisions are made well in advance. So it's not like the TV people picked this game 3 days ago. People were saying they should have done a CSU New Mexico game. They chose this game instead. Not a big deal. Did not provide for much drama on the TV viewing because Wyoming showed up to play. UNLV, let's be honest, I'll be kind when I say they were a mess. You see the final right there, 98-66, and the game was about as competitive as that, a 30-point game. And Wyoming needed that. They have not played a full game. They played a good half down in the pit, not a great second half, not a good first half at all. At home before the break against Grand Canyon, they lost that game by double figures, fought hard in the second half, won at Air Force, nice road win, any road win you'll take. But this was a complete 40 minutes, and they just had UNLV out of sorts from the start. Their energy level, UNLV was not ready to play, okay? So let's just get that out of the way. Wyoming was ready to play. So you get those two polar opposites there, and this is what you have, a score of 15-4, 6 minutes into the game. UNLV could barely get a shot off. Everything was contested. There was nothing free for the Rebels. They missed 20 some. I mean, look at the numbers there. BJ's got him up. They shot 45 free throws. That is a ton of free throws for a team that loses 98-66. That's almost unheard of. You miss 20. That doesn't exactly help the cause, right? Wyoming shot 33 for 60. That's pretty good numbers. I don't think they're a great shooting team. UNLV 18 for 48. I think that says. I mean, it's not. They're a mess, and that's putting it kindly. The roster's a mess. They don't do a lot of things well. You hear the phrase, you're better than the sum of your parts. That basically, we've talked about this before, you're outperforming what you should do on paper, right? Because you're cohesive, you're playing together. Things are playing out the way the coach wants them to play out. You're executing the coach's game plan. UNLV is kind of the opposite of that. They are not better than the sum of their parts. They are worse than the sum of their parts, okay? They have some decent individual talent. There's no doubt about it. They have guys who played at Illinois and were recruits at Alabama and other Power 4 schools. But together, what they remind me of, and it's all relative, so they are Division I players, but what they remind me of is like a high school team that it's a suburban versus an urban game, right? A city school that has all this talent and they don't know what they're doing. And the suburban team that doesn't quite have the talent, you watch them warm up, and it's like, yeah, this will be a 20-point game that this team's going to kill them. And then it's a 20-point game the other way because Team A plays together. They know what they're doing. They have a purpose. Team B, out of sorts, trying to play individual, and it doesn't work. And I hate to make like high school analogies with teams at this level, but they're just disjointed, and there's not a lot of good things going on for UNLV. Don't know if that will change or not. For Wyoming, I mean, look, this is what Sundance has wanted. To get up and down, play a ton of guys. You saw BJ had the stats up. They had 10 guys play in double figures and 10 guys score, okay? Now, that's easy to do when you're winning by 30, but they also have 2 guys out still. Meyer is out. I'm sorry, not Meyer. Belich is out, and Harris is out. So he's missing 2 guys that he's used, and he's still got 10 guys double-figure minutes. That's pretty darn good, right? They ran up and down the floor. They got some easy buckets. Again, some of that was due to UNLV's kind of optional defense at times, but you got to give Wyoming the credit here. They brought the energy. The gym was not full. I know Coach Wicks agrees with what I said a few weeks ago that they deserve more fans. They should get more fans. It's not really happening yet. They brought their own energy right from the start. They deserve it. Great effort. And I, just props to Wyoming.
Let's hear from Sundance. What do you say?
Let's do it. Let's take a 30-second break here and hear from our sponsor, one of our sponsors. I got it too, BJ. I don't have the 25 like you do, but the Sun Cruiser. Let's hear from Sun Cruiser, and then we'll be back with an ecstatic Sundance Wicks.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
All right, we're back on another night in the Mountain West, and we are joined now by a victorious Coach Sundance Wick of the Wyoming Cowboys. Coach, thanks for joining us. That one had to feel good.
Mountain West after dark, baby. It always feels good. That's a good UNLV team. And you all know everybody coming to Laradice is different. I just wish there was snow on the ground and 40-mile-per-hour winds. They got a nice weather night, but it was a good night for the Pokes in the AA. We shot the crap out of it in the first half, and that helped. But good night in the Mountain West for the Cowboys.
Well, not just that, but you guys jumped all over them right from the start. You had them spinning around. It seemed like you guys had 6 defenders on the floor. Maybe you felt that way too because you had about 5 guys in foul trouble. But, I mean, you were everywhere. Every pass was contested. Every shot was contested. You were in their gear everywhere. The lead was double figures early. Talk about the energy that you guys played with tonight.
Yeah, Tom. I mean, the big thing that we've been going with we haven't played up to par for the first 3 games. We put 20 minutes in each game together, not a full 40. We've been talking about full 40, bend, don't break. Teams are going to go on runs. But for us, I just told our guys, we got to get in the ring and love somebody, man. You got to, if you want to win a fight, you can't go spar with the partner, tap gloves, touch your chins a couple times, and then hug each other and say good round. Somebody's got to hit the mat. And so on Monday's practice, I will say Nas Meyer switched jerseys from the brown team to the gold team, went head to head with Leland, and we had some piss and vinegar going on Monday night. And we're maybe one of the only teams in America that still practices hard. I mean, we go at it. And so these guys went at it double enough because I was like, it's not good enough. Our practices aren't good enough. If we're playing, if we can only put together 20 minutes, we got to get in the ring and we got to hit the mat. And so I was proud of our guys because I think that's training that translates. When you get guys there going at each other, yeah, injuries happen, but we're not afraid of getting guys hurt. Guys got hurt in games. They didn't get hurt in practice in our program. So it was nice to see just our guys respond with some competitive resilience and a little bit of desperate energy. Look, man, this was a series. We went to New Mexico. We only played New Mexico and UNLV once. We knew we had to split. A lot of times when you split, you're trying to win your home game, right? And so right now, I just got to tell people we are where we should be. We lost a home game, won a road game at Air Force, and then we won our home game in the series of UNLV and New Mexico. We're 2-2. We're sitting right where we probably should be, and we got to find a way to get a little bit tougher and a little bit better because we got a good Nevada team coming up.
Sundance Wicks, our guest here on another night in the Mountain West. And, Coach, you kind of stole my question there. You guys were coming off that tough game against New Mexico. You had such a great start to the season. Then you get into conference play, and obviously the Grand Canyon game happened. You rebounded against Air Force and then had the tough one against New Mexico. But just to get back to 2-2 in league and avoid any kind of losing streak, especially as you got to take as much advantage of home court as you can in this league. How big was tonight's game?
It's huge. I mean, we're 9-1. I don't like to call things must wins. We're 9-1 at home right now. But the one thing this team hasn't done is lost 2 in a row, right? And so I always tell, you judge a man by the responses, not by what happens to him, but how they respond to what happens to him. Every time we've had something come across our program that's been tough, we've responded. You take an L at Sam Houston, you come back, you respond. You take an L at Texas Tech, you come back, you respond. You take an L versus Grand Canyon, you come back, you respond. You take an L. So we just never had that back-to-back losing games type thing. And that doesn't mean it won't happen or shouldn't happen. But as of right now, I just love our team's resiliency, their ability to get back in the fight and respond.
What else do you like about this team, Coach? 11-4, and the numbers are great. The metrics are great. I mean, I know you saw this coming, but you've surprised a lot of people nationally and around the league with how you've played to this point overall. I mean, what do you like most about what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, BJ, our numbers were good before conference. Our numbers have been piss poor in league, man. We're the worst shooting team coming into the night. We're giving up 50% from the field. And we're shooting 37% from the field, 24 from 3. And there's a natural regression that happens. I mean, you can watch all these teams. CSU is the best offense in the history of college basketball a couple of weeks ago, right? There's a regression and a progression. What I like is just we got humble guys that are hungry, that all came from lower levels, that want to prove that they belong. And part of that is you got to get these guys to believe too. I think you get imposter syndrome. I'd be lying to you, man. If I was a first-time head coach you're sitting there across the sideline sometimes looking at some of these coaches. Greg Campy, been doing it 40 years at Oakland, and I'm going up and how the heck are you going to beat Greg Campy? And that's, you get a little bit of that, but that also is why you get in the fight, because you want to be one of those guys at some point. You want to be a coach that's been coaching a while. You want to be a player that can prove he can play at this level. I just love our guys' chip, their edge. And then our staff has just been demanding a lot from these guys because we're not the most talented. We preach that, man. You're not going to be the most talented. You're not going to be the tallest. You're not going to be the strongest. You're not going to be the fastest. But we got to be the scrappiest. We got to be the toughest. We got to be the most connected. And it's something that we've always preached in our culture, but this team is really living it. So it's fun for me as a coach to be able to go home at night knowing that our locker room's right.
Well, I think Tom has one more for you, Coach. But I was just going to say, I meant some of your metrics and stuff. You're top 100 in Ken Pom, top 100 in the net. No disrespect intended, but you're a high-level quad 2 game right now, and folks have to go to Laramie and play you. And I don't think a lot of folks want to play you anyway. But it's a quality game now to go up there and play you. You've built the schedule and played to a point here where you've really put your numbers right there with some of the solid teams here in the middle of the pack in the league.
Yeah, to that point, BJ, I would say that. I've really demanded a lot of guys in the preseason, even though the non-conference schedule wasn't beefy for to say. But if you go game the net, right, you got to beat teams by a certain amount of margins. Your metrics got to be good. You can't turn the ball over. You got to score a lot and efficiently. You know how it is, and you still got to do it the right way. I tell our guys, there's winning and there's winning the right way. And if you win the right way, you help the league. And it's one thing that we didn't want to be as Wyoming is a team that come in here and say, well, you better go play well at Wyoming or else it's going to hurt the league. You always want to be a team that's respectable and people got to bring their best. And being a quad 2, quad 1 borderline win or having that on the road, that's good for our league. It's better to have 8 really freaking good teams or 9, many good teams you possibly can get. That's awesome.
We'll get you out of here with this one, Coach. And you kind of spoke to what I was going to ask you. People are going to look at the box score and see Leland Walker with 28. He led the way, obviously. But you talked about the edge that your guys played with, and you mentioned Meyer, the freshman, switching jerseys. I thought there were some plays in the first few minutes of the game tonight. It just looked like he had attitude, and he came out with like bad intentions, and you're loving it on the sidelines. Your staff, they're getting the guys juiced up. He just had that look on his face after some loose balls or some even fouls that he almost got a steal, where he was like, yeah, and he's a freshman. So why don't speak a little bit about, when it's like to have a guy like that in your locker room as a freshman.
He's a special kid because he's mature, right? You can be a 24-year-old guy acting like a 19-year-old. You can be a 19-year-old guy acting like a 24-year-old guy, right? He's a mature kid. He loves basketball. I mean, he's just one of those guys, doesn't have any other hobbies, right? Pretty good at fashion. He dresses pretty well sometimes. But outside of that, like, this dude is in my office every day. We watch, he'll be in here tomorrow morning. We'll watch all the film, and we watch all the bad. We watch all the good, and we don't even show that much good. We show a lot of correction or teach tape. And so he takes coaching. He loves to be in the office. He loves to be in the gym. He's in here every morning at 6 a.m. He's just one of those guys that when you're a coach, you go, I know why people have success. Success leaves clues. All right. And then when you follow the success trails of everybody else and you start to make your own, it's not a secret anymore. Like, that guy's good, and he's going to be good, and he wants to be good. And for him to have the moxie to go at Leland Walker, right? And then Leland, like, he needed that. We hadn't had a little alpha competition in practice for a while. We didn't come back from Christmas, right? And so when you get two wilderness rams trying to go at each other, crushing the horns, I mean, I sit back there in practice. I'm just like, this is great. Like, let's do this all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, look, it certainly worked tonight. A big 32-point victory, evening your conference record at 2-2. Coach Wicks, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll have you back again on another night in the Mountain West.
Hey, gentlemen, it's just another night in the Mountain West.
That's right.
Coach, I'll see you 2 weeks from tonight. I'm looking forward to getting up there. My last scheduled trip to Laramie. I can't wait.
BJ said no one ever. All right. You're not looking forward to coming up here. You don't have to gaslight it, brother. Just come on down. You're going to hate it. And I love it. I love it.
I'll be at that corner table at Born in a Barn having some wings and a beer the night before the game if you want to come on by, Coach.
The best. I'll make sure the tab's picked up, okay? You just text me when you're there. I'll make sure the tab's picked up.
Thanks for doing this, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Go Pokes.
All right. Massive thanks to Sundance Wicks for joining us here on another night in Mountain West. I mean, not only a great coach, but a great interview. How can you not want to play for that guy? You could interview that guy all night. So appreciate him being here. We're also.
Do you think he's really picking up the tab? I mean, should I try that? Can I name drop that maybe?
100%. Not only did we get Sundance Wicks, we're hopeful to get Vance Wahlberg shortly to talk about his Bulldogs' big victory. And we will touch on the Utah State game, their big victory over Air Force as well. But first, let's get to the probably on paper, the second biggest game of the night. And that was the Lobos of New Mexico taking down the Rams of Colorado State in Moby. Another big road win, two big road wins tonight for some of the teams at the top of the conference as we welcome in Jeff Grammer. Jeff, what do you see tonight from your seat on press row in Moby?
Well, the matchup was an interesting one, right? Because I'm looking at Ken Palm right now, and UNM is in league play, the highest rated defensive efficiency in the league right now. So UNM's been playing good defense, but they do it in a pretty unique kind of matchup zone kind of style. And what they do, and BJ saw, it doesn't seem like they're doing it a whole lot. It just seems like, wow, this team keeps missing shots, and yet they do it time and time again. It's what Eric Olin's team did last year at UC San Diego. It at some point you realize, well, maybe it is New Mexico's defense or UC San Diego last year putting them in strategically bad places and kind of luring them into shooting shots that Eric Olin, and his staff want them to shoot. And next thing you know, you look up and it's another poor shooting night for the other team. It's not anything UNM did, but tonight, they went in and they kind of, well, let me back up. Before tonight, what UNM does is they protect the twos, right? They defend the paint, they protect the paint, they want you to shoot further and further away from the rim, and invite you to shoot threes is the nice way to put it. They don't just let you shoot threes, but their defense is set up to let you have a lot of space on the perimeter. They were ranked coming into this game 363rd out of 365 teams in opponents' 3-point rate. So teams were putting up a ton of threes against them. Coming into a game against the Mountain West leading 3-point rate team, plus the number 2 team in the nation in 3-point percentage coming into the game, in a Colorado State team that just had every kind of ingredient in the recipe of just a really bad matchup. That's what Eric Olin told me yesterday when I talked with him for a preview story. He's like, this is a bad matchup. So, Eric, what are you going to do? Are you going to just hope they don't do it and try and make some small adjustments? Or are you going to flip your whole defense around? What they ended up doing is flipping their whole defense around, really. And they played very tight perimeter defense today, even to the extent of giving up some backdoors, some easy backdoor layups because they're too much pressure on the outside. Obviously, they just blow by you, and Pasquarelli and Rechsteiner did that a couple times, blew by the guards. And it's a weird sort of thing when you can kind of see it starting to happen. And covering Eric to this point of the season, you're starting to see the method. There's some madness to it, right? But you're starting to see the method to it. And he's hitting the right chords. Like, again, in Boise, it was an ugly shooting night, an ugly offensive night for both teams. But defensively, he just keeps finding ways to sort of take the opposing team out of what they want to do, especially offensively. Tonight, the 2 shooters who came into tonight, Brandon Rechsteiner, and Josh Pasquarelli, who both had made 42 3-pointers coming into this game, they combined for 1 made 3-pointer tonight. 0 for 4 for Pasquarelli, 1 for 4 for Rechsteiner, and Colorado State as a whole hit 7 of them, while UNM ends up hitting 11 3-pointers. It was just exactly what UNM wanted. They would have liked to have given up a few less backdoor cuts, but if that's what you're trading off for a CSU team not going off from the perimeter, you'll take that. So I was really, really impressed. I will say this, the one kind of knock on the game is it was one, and this is getting nitpicky, right? When you're nitpicking a road conference win like this, right. It was the kind of game they were at one point, like midway through the second half, shooting 75% still. UNM was so efficient, and yet CSU, with 3 minutes to go, got the game down to 6. Mm-hmm. So UNM didn't have the killer instinct, the step on their throat, kind of put them away when you should have. And when you do that with CSU, who can hit a couple quick threes, like you're playing with fire a little bit. They end up winning by 10 on the road. It's kind of nitpicky to find anything wrong with that win. But if anything, I would say that was what was wrong with that win is they didn't quite put away a team like they probably should have a little earlier.
Yeah. Well, look, some guys are winners, and not that we didn't know this ahead of time, but Olin is a winner. Some guys win with one style, right? Rick Pitino has won with pressure, shooting threes, going all the way back to his time with Kentucky for probably 6 or 7 different teams in college basketball over 30 or 40 years. Olin, as you just said, when you can completely switch your team's identity or game plan for one opponent like this, and get your guys to buy in, that's pretty impressive, because it could have easily gone south where they try to take it away and it doesn't work. And like you said, you can't take everything away, Jeff. You can take away something. You're going to give up the back cuts, and that's fine. But I thought right from the start, you've been focusing on the New Mexico defense. Right from the start, they were in the Colorado State guards' shirt pockets right from the start. I thought Olin made an emphasis. I don't make it a habit to really pay attention as much to individual players, but Muniz is a guy, if you've listened to me over the last year or so, or 8 months, I coached for a half a year in high school, like 8 years ago, right? I have experience with him. He's from my hometown. I know him very well. So I watch him a little bit closer than I watch other guys play. And he's not the shooting threat that Pasquarelli and or Rechsteiner are, but he's the head of that snake that runs that beautiful CSU offense. And I thought Olin made it a point to really kind of take him out, where he had probably his worst game of the year. And he's been very good, was not good tonight. And I think that was New Mexico's defense. So cut the head off the snake, and you see what happens. But on the other end of the floor, Jeff, right from the start, New Mexico got wherever they wanted to go off the dribble. Yeah. allowed them to get open threes on pretty much every possession within the first 5 minutes. I mean, I don't think some of the shots were great, but they make enough. And I guess if you make enough, you can shoot enough. But CSU could not guard them off the dribble. Was there anything like more complicated than that?
No, and I will say that on the offensive side, and before I go back to the defense here in just a second too, I want to say something else. But on the offensive side, I think CSU actually did fairly well in taking Tomislav Buljan out. Now, Tomislav Buljan took himself out a little bit too with foul trouble. Again, that's probably been the biggest knock on him is some foul trouble issues. But Tomislav Buljan had 2 double-doubles last week. He had 8 points tonight, so he had 2 points away from another double-double. He did have double-digit rebounds, but I thought he was going to dominate a CSU team that's lacking their big guys, right? So no, I don't think it was anything more complicated than what you're saying is on the offensive side. I think is as efficient an offensive night as the Lobos have had all year, which was pretty cool. Javis Miller is a guy who came in as the 6th man of the year of the Summit League a year ago, hadn't played much. He had 5 consecutive games, D1 games. He did play a Division II opponent in the middle of that stretch, but he had 5 games where he was just a DNP coach's decision. He wasn't injured. He wasn't sick, nothing like that. He just wasn't even in the rotation. And he is now back to being a key piece of the puzzle off the bench for them offensively. He had a couple big threes tonight. And I do think that this team is sort of still trending up, which is what you want to be doing right now. But yeah, tonight I think was all about the defense. And as I said, I'll repeat it because I think Eric Olin kind of said the same thing when I talked to him in the postgame. Tonight was really about, I think, their ability to take the strength of CSU's entire game or entire team, which is their offense primarily, but to take their strength away from them. I think you hit the nail on the head. They weren't able to move the ball. And then you take the 2 shooters out. And I did talk to Eric about that. And I think we have something ready to go with Eric Olin kind of addressing that very thing, his game plan against the 3.
Yeah, our default is to, really help to protect the paint, bring 2 to, we're pretty willing to put 2 on the ball, try to be aggressive in those situations. And then we want to win in rotation, just with the amount of shooting they have on the floor. Like, obviously they have a couple, 1 and 2, who are really prolific, but they really shoot it at every spot. We felt like, it was going to be a real challenge for us to limit their strength. And so we felt like we wanted to stay tighter to 1 and 2, not help as much, play a little more one-on-one. Thought our guys did a really good job with a somewhat quick turnaround. We didn't do much on the Sunday after a Saturday game, so kind of 1 full day of prep and really executed pretty well.
They got. So yeah, there you go. Eric's kind of explaining what I was sort of repeating what he was saying earlier, but they did just have the quick turnaround, and they managed to put together a pretty good defensive game plan, considering it's not what they've basically done most of the year. So I was impressed. They got a road win, and this is a team that now goes and plays Air Force. If we assume they might beat Air Force,
right?
They're a team that's going to be sitting 4-1 through the quarter pull, and that's not bad. They've played a couple road games already, so they're in a pretty good position, I think.
Some tougher games to come, of course, but that extrapolates out to 16-4, which certainly is not bad. And you would have taken that before the start of the year, and you bet your butt Lobo fans would have taken that, as I keep referring back at halftime of that Nebraska game about 6 weeks ago. Here's one quick for you, Jeff. It says, I would hate to see guys like Javis Miller and Luke Haupt lose minutes due to Chris Howell's return.
Yep.
Great win for the Lobos. What's the status of Howell here, and how do you think Olin will handle his return whenever that may happen?
Yeah, so in following the plus minuses and what the roster does when he's on the floor, I guarantee you when he's healthy, he is going to get minutes. He's gonna. I don't know if he'll be a starter again like Luke Haupt has been in his absence, but. It blows my mind. I agree with some fans who don't quite understand it, but Eric Olin is all about the mathematical formulas that this equals that. If you're down in defensive rebound rate, you need to make it up for in turnover rate. And what does this roster and this combination do together? Chris Howell is at the top of almost every list of every metric you can come up with in terms of roster combinations. He fills the gap and he bridges gaps so well on this team. Chris Howell will play again. Individually, you made the comment earlier talking about UNLV, the sum of the parts kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Chris Howell is the kind of guy who individually isn't all that good. but he's the guy who seems to bring the pieces together so well that Eric Olin is a firm believer in that. And as much as it's going to drive some Lobo fans crazy, Chris Howell is absolutely going to play a game because frankly, he is pretty good. He's not as bad as I think some Lobo fans think, but I get where they're coming from because there have been moments when he just looks a little unathletic sometimes. He's missed some shots, but the numbers are what they are. He seems, all the numbers seem to bring the team together when he's on the floor.
Well, he's the definition. I've said this before, and I'm sure you will agree with this. He's a definition of an Olin guy, right?
Yes.
And so he's like you. It's one of those things. He's not as bad as you think he might be. As to your point. Yeah. Now, last one, Jeff, before we get you out of here, because we are going to get to Vance Wahlberg.
Yep.
Here's a comment, and this is what I was going to ask you. Probably the opposite of an Olin guy seems to be Kevin Patton. Any deal with the Patton brothers? Obviously, they're on that availability report every game. I mean, are we going to see them again in uniform or no?
So I'll start with the easier question to answer, which is Kalai Patton is redshirting this year. Every redshirt, UNM has taken this approach. I don't know if every team is doing it this way, but because a redshirt can be lifted at any time, technically they're still on the roster, so they put them as out every game as opposed to just not listing them. But there are 2 Lobos who are on that availability report every game who are redshirting this year, but because they travel and the redshirt can technically be lifted at any time, they don't want people to think that they may just play that game. So Kalai Patton, the younger brother, he's redshirting. That's what's up with him. He had a birthday yesterday. He's still with the team. He travels even as a redshirt, not playing, and still active with it. In fact, he's in charge of the music after the games. That's how active Kalai Patton is. Kevin Patton. I did not know this initially. I was wondering, like a lot of people, what exactly is going on? Kevin Patton is, I do have a little bit better understanding now. Kevin Patton is absolutely dealing with the personal matter that he is away from the team right now. And will he be back? I don't know. The team doesn't seem to know if he will be back. I think you would be equally surprised as unsurprised if he does or doesn't come back. People just around the team just don't know. But I am now of the belief that it legitimately is a personal matter that Kevin Patton is dealing with.
Okay, well, some good clarity there from Jeff Grammer. That's what you would expect from Mr. Grammer. All right, Jeff, we're going to let you go. It's late, even down.
You don't want to preview Air Force
in Fort. Well,
we said we were going to spend about 20 seconds on the Utah State Air Force game tonight too. So,
well, there it was.
Yeah, that was half of it. Yeah. All right, Jeff Grammer, thanks for joining us again here on Another Night in the Mountain West. We will have you back soon. Enjoy your trip home.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay, so I want to talk a couple minutes about this. We're going to get to Vance Wahlberg in a few minutes, talk Fresno State and their big victory over San Jose State, and then wrap up, as BJ said, with a little bit, very little bit on that Utah State.
If you want to go Utah State next, whatever order you want to go, man.
Then, well, we have to get to a little bit of a preview for tomorrow night's game. We do have action tomorrow night up there, as you well know, in your neck of the woods, when Grand Canyon heads probably maybe what's the furthest geographic trip in the conference? I mean, would that make sense?
I don't know if Wyoming, maybe barely farther north than Wyoming, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Look, Buljan, as Jeff said, he wasn't a dominant factor tonight the way he's been before, but I realized tonight watching, he's pretty damn athletic. He doesn't get credit for that because he's a bruiser and he's effective on the glass and he's not super smooth. He had an incredible play tonight where he saved a loose ball going out of bounds and it led to a bucket. And I was like, whoa. And then a minute later, he did like a twisty reverse layup. And I thought, you know what? We've been selling this guy's athleticism short. So, I just wanted to mention that a little bit. I thought great job on both ends of the floor. CSU's, they're just kind of a puzzling team. I'm not to say that they didn't come out and play hard tonight. Look, it's not easy for first-year head coaches. I think myself, you, BJ, a lot of other basketball people, not just Mountain West, but around the country, expect Ali Frokmanesh to be a pretty good head coach within a short amount of time. And he's probably on his way there right now. But it's his first year as a head coach. Not that easy to do, to just slide over from an assistant to a head coach. Olin's been doing this for years. He mastered his craft at UCSD. People didn't know him for a long time. Doesn't mean he wasn't doing a good job. And Olin, as Jeff kind of alluded to, he's kind of pulling his strings right now. I'm not going to compare him to like Kurt Signetti for you football people, but he's doing the job come hell or high water. However you want to do it, he's getting the job done. So massive credit to Olin, his staff, Lobo Nation's got to be ecstatic with another good road win. So I guess why don't we take a quick break and then we're going to come back with Vance Wahlberg, BJ.
Let's do that. Let's hear from Circa. We'll hear from Circa, and then Vance Wahlberg will be ready to go. Back in 30 seconds on another night in the Mountain West with Vance Wahlberg.
Get ready for the time of your life at Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's newest destination for fun, featuring the world's biggest poolside tailgate party with 3 levels of action, 6 pools, and a 143-foot screen. The fun is always on deck with all the games all year long. Stadium Swim, located in downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street. Book the time of your life today at circalasvegas.com.
All right, we're back on another night in the Mountain West. We're happy to be joined by Vance Wahlberg, head coach of Fresno State Bulldogs. Got their first conference win tonight. Coach, congratulations. Just first, top thoughts on the win for your guys.
No, it's honestly, it's about time. I felt like we had a couple games we had opportunity. I think we really gave away the Nevada game. With Utah State, I thought we did a really good job staying with them and had a chance. But it was nice for the players. They worked really hard, so I was very happy for them.
Well, and you kind of spoke to what my main question was going to be. I thought, I don't know how coaches, when you're coaching a team, think about it from an outside perspective as a former coach. I thought this was an easy spot here for you guys to kind of have a letdown. You played so hard in those 2 home games last week and came up just short, as you had mentioned, against Utah State and against Nevada, and especially crushing against Nevada because you played so well and you really deserved almost to win that game. How did you get the sense in your practices the last few days? Did you see this kind of effort coming from your guys? Is the leadership? What do you see here that gives you, the confidence that your guys could come out and produce this type of performance?
The one thing I'll give the players a ton of credit. Every time, it doesn't matter win or lose, the next day they come back with a great attitude. If we have practice like the other day, we had practice from 11 to 1. We had 3 players in there at 9:30 getting shots up. Most of the players in there by 10 o'clock. So their effort is there. And for me personally, I just wanted them to have a chance to be rewarded for their effort. I'm a big believer in the basketball gods. If you do things right, usually sometimes things will go your way. And most of this year they haven't. We lost so many close games. But to get this one, it was really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard your comments after the presser after the Nevada game. You could just tell you're feeling it for the guys. As you just said, you want it so bad for them. Speak about some of the individual performances. Obviously, Heidbrader's a shot maker for you guys, but Collins, he's just like an old school point guard out there. He doesn't really shoot the 3. He's so crafty with the ball. He sets guys up. You had Foss and Douglas in there making plays tonight. It was nice to see him back in the lineup. Speak to what Collins does for you guys just as kind of a floor general.
Well, he's the engine. He gets us going. He does all little things. To be honest with you, I need Zayon to look to score more. I thought first half he looked to score and create more. He looks to pass too much, in my opinion. I want him to be able to score because I think if he scores, that'll suck more people. And I think a lot of people are looking for him to pass more. And I thought the first half he did a really good job of having that balance of looking to score and then creating for the others.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, so let's one more from me here. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Not a lot of talk about your defense, but you played really well in the first half against Nevada defensively. I don't think your defense was bad in the second half. Nevada just made plays. San Jose State just scored 50 in the first half on Utah State. You held them to in the 50s for the game tonight. Speak to the effort defensively. What do you see on that end of the floor, and what are your thoughts down there?
We're just getting better and better, to be honest with you. The freshman kid I have, Deshaun Gorey. Deshaun isn't anything, you look at him, you go, wow, that's a pretty skinny kid, but God, he plays so hard. I usually put him on the other team's best offensive player. And then having Wilson Jocks, a 7-footer, 270 inside, Wilson takes up a lot of room. So I think defensively, we're getting better and better. We're not going to shut people out, but I think we're getting to the point where at least it's giving us a chance to be able to win games.
Well, Coach, final question for you. We appreciate you doing this. You mentioned they were due and they deserve this. I mean, 6 losses in a row just to get this win. I know it doesn't get any easier with San Diego State coming up next and some of the schedule you have here, but just big picture wise to get this one. And you guys are obviously so much more competitive, so much better than last year. I mean, how do you feel like this team is building and what is kind of your outlook here moving forward?
I think we are building, and I just think if we can just, don't shoot ourselves in the foot and win the games I think we're supposed to win, I think we're going to surprise some people. And again, I honestly think we're going to get better and better through the season because we got guys like DJ Douglas you saw tonight who's starting to come back and get some playing time, and we can get that mixture. I think it's going to help us quite a bit.
All right, well, Coach, thanks for coming on here on another night in the Mountain West. Go enjoy this win with your guys. Get a couple days off, and we'll catch you again down the road.
You got it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, well, that was Vance Wahlberg after their 70-55 win. Again, they controlled it for 40 minutes, and I meant what I said when I asked them that. I really thought that this was a game that they would lose. Like, I don't like to make predictions a lot unless I have a very strong take on it because I don't like to be wrong. And I really thought that this was an opportunity here for Miles and his guys to finish a game for 40 minutes against a team not quite as talented as their last few opponents. They went toe-to-toe for a while with Utah State and San Diego State. There's no shame in coming up short there because they just run out of gas a little bit. I thought maybe they could withstand it for 40 minutes here, and Fresno might be a little flat after those good efforts and them falling short. And that's how, sometimes I might overthink it, but I look at stuff like that. And that just did not play out like that because San Jose was actually the group that was a little flat. They used a different starting lineup as BJ's got the stats on his screen here. Some of the guys that have been getting minutes, they missed a guy or two tonight. Maundi, the big guy inside, did not play, so that certainly hurt. And there were a couple other guys that he brought off the bench. So they've been battling some illnesses and injuries, which doesn't help the cause because Miles' teams are never deep to begin with. But look, this was a Fresno State effort. They played very well. The stats reflect it. And as Wahlberg said, good for them. They deserved the win. They lost a bunch in a row, including several close games. So it had to feel good. You could tell it was like a weight lifted off their shoulders. And I mean, are they going to run off a stretch here of 4 or 5 in a row? Probably not. But are they going to compete every night like we've seen them do so far? I would expect that to be the case. Look, they're far better than they were last year. They have some dogs there this year, and no pun intended for the Bulldogs, but they are more together than I thought they would be to start the season. So that's a credit to Wahlberg. It's also a credit to some of the veteran guys like Hyde-Brader and Collins. Now, Hyde-Brader's not been at Fresno before, but he's been in the league at Air Force. He was in the ACC at Clemson. It's his last go-round. He knows in all likelihood that it's not a postseason team. He could just be out there for individual stats, and he seems to be bought in. Same thing with Collins. He's had an up and down career, but he's playing very good basketball, and I got to give credit to Wahlberg and his staff for holding it all together to this point. So I'm impressed with what I saw tonight, and, good for them. Good for the Bulldogs to get that win. Anything, BJ?
Yeah, I mean, they had lost 6 in a row, like we said, and they are much more competitive than they were last year. I mean, what'd they go last year? They win 6-26 last year. Yeah. They're already 7-8 this year. So I've been impressed. They're not great. They're not, they're one of the weaker teams in the conference, but I still think they're a step up from what they've been in the past. And that's reflected by, I mean, they're sitting at 146 at Ken Pom. Like Fresno State sometimes is 300 plus at Ken Pom or 250 plus. I mean, to be sitting there at 162, I mean, it's not as much. I mean, it's still a dangerous game when you play them, but it's not maybe what it was in previous years where you had to beat them by 30 or it was just going to kill your metrics. So, I mean, I think that they've in year 2 here. I mean, there was a lot of people, let's not forget, Tom, like calling for with all the gambling stuff that happened last year and how bad they were. Like, there was people wanting Vance to be one and done. I mean, absolutely. He's an older guy. He was kind of I know he has ties there, but it was just kind of a weird fit there to some people. And I know he's a loyal guy from the area and has wanted that job and coached there for a long time. And it kind of surprised some people when he got the job. And when they had the year they had last year, would not have surprised me if they wouldn't have brought him back, but they stuck with him and they're 7-8. And like I said, they're not going to win a ton of games, but they're at least competitive in most of these games. As you said, should have beaten Nevada. I mean, losing by 1, they hung around, lost by single digits to Utah State. I've been for the most part impressed. I know they don't have a lot of great wins, but they did beat Utah Valley, which is a top 100 Ken Pom team, and we'll see how many conference games they win. It's a tough conference. Like I said, they're not one of the better teams. They're probably only going to win 3-4 games maybe in conference. I don't know, but 5-6. They're going to surprise some people, but at some point, and then it's not the easy gimme going to win by 30 game that it used to be. And I think Vance deserves a lot of credit, even though they're sitting there at 7-8. It's not like he's going to be the coach of the year or something, but they're much more competitive and better than they were last year.
Yeah, and he says, could be just coach speak, but he believes they'll continue to get better. And if that's the case, maybe they'll get up into 5, 6, 7 wins. I mean, it might be a stretch because, look, the league's very good, but they were right there within 1 point of Nevada at home. They can win a couple home games and beat the bottom 2 teams a couple times each. They might get up to that 6, 7 wins, which will be great for them because they've been stuck in the very low numbers in the league the last few years. All right, we got one more game, and again,
we got a comment here. Great poll getting these head coaches on the show. Too bad San Diego State big time, you guys. Yeah, we said this on one of the earlier shows, Tom, but we would love we're not ignoring San Diego State. We would love to get Dutch or some of the players on, but they told us that's not going to be happening this year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's all right. They have other things to worry about, and that's fine. We'll take.
They're too big time for our show, I guess. But
that's all right.
We did reach out. We reached out. We sent every SID, every sports information department the plan that we were starting this show, and we wanted to have them on, and almost all of them wrote back and said yes. And San Diego State was the one that wrote back and said, good luck with your venture, but we're not going to be participating. So that's why, and I'm not taking shots at them, ripping them, whatever, just being honest. If folks are wondering why is San Diego State never going to be on this show, why are you not getting their coach? We'll get Mark Ziegler on at some point maybe, or John Schaefer, their radio guy, is a great guest as well. So we'll talk plenty of San Diego State, or you will mostly, and we'll get him on. But we're just being honest. We would love to get San Diego State on, but their SID told us they were not interested in coming on, and so that's the reason you're not getting anybody from San Diego State on.
Yeah, that's their right. It's disappointing. We'll be honest. It's disappointing.
I actually don't hate the Aztecs. I love the Aztecs. I love going to Viejas. I love San Diego. Brian Dutcher is one of my favorite coaches in the league. So because I brought up some of the officiating issues in the last game, I'm suddenly some hater of the Aztecs. They're one of my favorite places to go, favorite student section, favorite road city. Love Brian Dutcher. Love everything about San Diego State. So that's just flat out not true.
Yeah, BJ respects the program. All right, let quickly for about 30 seconds. Utah State rolled over Air Force. I watched much of the first half because it was the only game on at this. There were 2 games on early. It was that game and a New Mexico game, so I was able to watch both simultaneously. And they came out ready to play. I think they probably heard it from Calhoun or whoever else that the first half and the first 35 minutes against San Jose State on Saturday was too close, and why were you losing, and why blah, 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 because they came out ready to play, and they built a 20-point lead. Air Force stuck with them for the last handful of minutes, and you could tell Calhoun was spitting mad. There were some loose balls, some offensive rebounds, and some plays that Air Force looked a little bit tougher in the last few minutes of the half, and it was only, I say only in quotes, a 14-point halftime lead for the Aggies. And I just had a feeling, and I sent out a tweet that Calhoun was going to light them up in the locker room, and they came out and they won by, there you go, they won by 37, 99-62. They came out and just drilled them in the second half. I mean, look, that's all that needs to be really said about that game. Good job by Utah State. They've gone through, let's be fair, a stretch here that's about as easy as it's gonna get for any of the teams at the top in the conference this year. Their last 3 games have been at Fresno, not a walkthrough, but at Fresno, home San Jose State, at Air Force. So it doesn't get much easier than that 3-game stretch. All right, it really won't. Especially, and I think because, and I have to look at it again, I don't think they play 2 of those teams again at all in the season. If you can you go down any further on that, BJ, or no? I don't think they play, as you're seeing it. Yeah, they don't play San Jose State or Air Force again. So they're done with both of those teams. You see a home game with Fresno is the only game that they'll be not the only game they'll be a substantial favorite, but every other game on that board right there, if they don't bring their A game, they'll be in a tussle in the in the last few minutes. Okay, there's no more bottom teams on that list. So they've gotten through the early portion of their schedule. They're 4-0. All right. But they better kind of, not that they need to do anything. They've played well, but there's not going to be a lot of free nights left. Okay. So that's enough about that game. They're undefeated, tied actually with San Diego State, which is, I guess, where people thought it would be at the start of the season, 1-2. But all right. Okay. What do you want to do, BJ? Want to talk tomorrow with Boise?
Yeah, let's we could preview that game quickly. And interesting game. The only game tomorrow, we still have to figure out what we're doing tomorrow. I think we're doing one show, whatever we call it, or
yeah, that makes
if
sense.
you pop on, or if you want to just take the night off, since I'm keeping you here at 2:35 a.m. we can figure that out tomorrow. But there will only be one show with only one game. We could obviously preview some of the Saturday games tomorrow night as well. We'll figure out how we want to do it. But I do hate keeping you up so late, and you got to get up early, so this will be quick. But maybe tomorrow we just give you the night off and just do our Boise post-game show. We'll see. Maybe we could tape something earlier in the night, previewing the games for Wednesday. I don't know. Maybe we can think of something tomorrow, Tom, and talk. But this is interesting because Boise State, we had just talked about all the familiarity they have with San Diego State and Dutcher and Leon and all this, and now you get Grand Canyon, a new team kind of thrust into the league here, and they're an interesting team. I mean, they've kind of been up or down. They surprised the heck out of a lot of people going to Wyoming and winning that game the way that they did, and then come home the other night and lose at home to Colorado State. So I don't really know what to make of Grand Canyon, but we talked to Leon Rice today, and the familiarity you have with all these teams in the league, and then you get a brand new team, brand new coach, and it's almost like a non-conference game here in early January, where you're having to kind of start from scratch to learn about this team. But I caught up with Leon Rice today. Here's what he said about the unfamiliarity and the challenge of playing a team like Grand Canyon that you don't know very well.
Grand Canyon, so different than San Diego State in the fact that you've coached against Dutcher forever.
Right.
You've played them. Their roster was the same. You get somebody new in the league. Is there a different vibe getting ready for somebody?
Oh,
that's different?
absolutely. Because, you got to catch up. You got to figure out what they're all about and how they do it. And that's the thing about like us and San Diego State. They've got a PhD in us. We got a PhD in them. But it's all things you got to go out and do. It's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. With this, you got to learn what works and what, so you're still learning stuff and you're watching a lot. You have to really pile into the film, but you don't want your guys to try to overthink it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. There's a learning curve when you haven't played somebody a lot.
Best thing they do.
Well, I mean, first of all, they're well coached. They got great players. They have a good pace to them. They got a lot of guys that can score in bunches, and they got some hot hands right now. And I mean, they got a great system, and they're used to winning. It's a program that's won. I think, was it 3 straight NCAA tournaments for that? It might even, might even more than that. They've been dominant, and so they're used to winning. And so all those things matter in a program. And so, with a team like that, you got to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves, and you got to play great. And that's the Mountain West. If you play a C game against anyone, if we're feeling sorry for ourselves or worried about the past, like what we're talking about, you got no chance. And that's not who we are. We have to move on. And again, another thing that's easier said than done, because those guys care, and when you put that much into it and there's that much emotion involved with everything, and responding is hard, but that's what we take a lot of pride in.
Yeah. Now, if we keep this thing going, by the way, Tom, into next year, I don't know if we're going to call it another night in the Pac-12 or another night on the West Coast, or how we're going to phrase this if we do this next year, but we need to go to media days and then record all these coaches saying like another night in the Mountain West or another night in the Pac-12, because Leon kind of said it there. He goes, that's this league. And I'm thinking about it. Sundance said it, and we could put together in our intro all the coaches saying something about another night in the Mountain West. But Boise needs this game, man. They play Utah State on Saturday. We just talked about San Diego State, and I was surprised how their response was, winning that game in triple overtime and then coming back on the road and winning at Nevada. Boise at least gets to come home, but they're facing with the pain and agony of losing that game in triple overtime. And I would say in my 13 years covering Boise State that Leon Rice teams, one trait they have is they respond. I mean, they really do. When there's a time where you think, oh man, how are they ever going to pick themselves up off the mat after that one? They usually do. They don't lose 2 games in a row very often. They don't, they usually respond. And when you think it's a perfect kind of letdown spot, or, oh man, we'll see if this, snowballs, they usually respond in a big way. And I 9:00 game tomorrow, school's back in session. We'll see what the crowd's like in Boise, but the game on Saturday, they're playing Utah State, and they've got to go 2-0 this week. They've got to find a way, if they want any hope of an at-large bid, and to compete near the top of this conference. I mean, they're sitting at 1-2 in the league right now. So the schedule does get a little easier after this week. I mean, UNLV, I think, is a winnable game on the road. They have Colorado State at home, and I know they go to Wyoming, which is going to be tough, but then you get Air Force and San Jose after that. So I feel like this is a nice stretch where Boise State could make a little bit of a run here, but they've got to find a way to go 2-0 this week. And the Saturday game is going to be huge, but knowing that's lingering, that they've got to win this game tomorrow.
Well, I mean, you spoke to Leon and this program's ability to get back up off the mat. I think that's the key, because, to be honest, Leon gave the great soundbite when he talked about it just being another night in this league. But I think his answer to the prior question was a little bit of coach speak. I don't expect him, when he's asked what they do well, to say, well, they don't do very much well. Coaches don't do that. But
they got good players, good coaches.
That's the standard answer, because I'll be honest. They match up well with Wyoming. And that's why they were able to win that game by double figures. They did not look good against CSU at home on Saturday, in a great spot for them, not CSU, a great spot for them. They laid an egg, and I didn't think they played well in the non-con. And now they're going up here. This will be like culture shock for them to go up to Boise, right? Like, this is completely, we talked about the geographic change, but forget about that. Like, how about just all of it? I know this isn't football and you're not playing outside, but they're not used to this type of travel. Okay.
And more atmosphere, crowd, probably.
Okay. And I like, they haven't had guys score in bunches. They're not playing good offensively. They're a good defensive team. Boise, I think I saw, is about an 8-point favorite. So they're expected to win the game, not like in a blowout fashion, but semi-comfortably. I would expect them to bounce back. They had the extra day now. They should have confidence watching the film from how they played in the second half and the overtimes, right? A lot of things had to happen after regulation for them to not win that game, right? We're a totally different perspective on things if one little thing goes differently and they win that game. So they should be feeling confident, even though they're 1-2. They have the more talented roster. I think GCU's reeling a little bit. It'll be very disappointing if they don't win this game. And then you could turn your attention to the quick turnaround for a Saturday game. But I do think this is one that you have to get. And I ultimately think they will get it by 3, by 13, close game at the under 8, whatever it is. I think they'll get the job done.
Yeah, I would probably agree. But hey, it's 2:43 in the morning where you're at, and I'm out of my Sun Cruiser here, so I think it's a good time to call it a night. I got to pay you more, man. I said you do a tremendous job. We had great interest from all the different fan bases. 1,293 either views or people still watching at this point. Twitter counts it kind of weird, but there's it's been a fun night, man. To get 2 head coaches on live and to get 2 more where we hear from him. There's 12 coaches in the conference, and 33% of them made an appearance on this show at some point, whether it be a soundbite from Eric Olin or Leon or those guys. So that's our goal here moving forward, to continue. And sometimes, you have the craziness of the other night where Boise's the last game and you're starting late, and it is what it is. We're going to have a couple more of those nights, unfortunately. But we're going to do our best to work around it. And one more plug for the YouTube channel. You see it at the bottom there, youtube.com/@MountainWestBNN. So obviously Bronco Nation News, for folks, I think they know us, but we cover Boise State, obviously, but trying to expand this a little bit and give folks coverage. Folks think I hate all the other teams and all this in the conference. Like, we're trying to expand the coverage to all of the teams in the Mountain West. So I guess I can be a homer for all 12 teams here pretty soon.
There you
go. That's the goal. And like I said, we'll see where it goes next year. But for the next 2 months, it's a Mountain West show, and Tom's going to host it every time there's a game. So hopefully anytime there's a Mountain West game, you make plans to join us. But the new YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MountainWestBNN. Somebody in the chat said they subscribed during the show, and they liked it. I can't find the comment. Oh, here it is. Subscribed, Appreciate the show analysis, gents. So appreciate all of you that have found the channel, subscribe to it. The regular BNN channel is, mostly Boise State. That's why we started the separate channel at Mountain West BNN, which is going to have more Mountain West coverage and things like that and interviews on there. So download that one, turn on the note or subscribe to that one, turn on the notifications for that one. And that's how you'll know when we go live. And we'll let you know tomorrow. There will be one show firing up at some point. We'll figure that out. I don't know. Maybe we do one feed. You get on and start it, and it's another night in the Mountain West, and I just take over the same feed and rebrand it to my post game. I have no idea what the plan should be. We can discuss that tomorrow, but then obviously a full slate on Saturday as well.
Yeah, we'll figure it out in the morning. I think we actually have a Friday game too. So we will, and that is not Boise. So that will be like a solo game Friday, I guess, where we can preview the Saturday ones too.
Well, then maybe we just say you take the night off tomorrow. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, that might work. I'll watch the game.
I know you'll be watching the game, but why don't you take the night off and then you can come back Friday and then you can do the preview of Saturday on Friday night too.
That works. All right. Well, listen, thanks to Jeff Grammer. Thanks to you, BJ Rains. Thanks to our coaches who joined us. As BJ said, 4 out of 12 in some capacity we hear, which is awesome. A lot of good feedback and interaction from the fans in the chat.
The SIDs at Wyoming and Fresno. We appreciate them for helping coordinate the interviews and getting those coaches on, and for Sundance and Vance, who are probably like, what the heck kind of show? Who is this? Is this, we appreciate them both for coming on tonight too.
Yes, sir. All right. I think we're good. Let's get out of here. Let everybody get some rest. And you'll be back tomorrow with some Boise post game. I'll be back on Friday, and then a big night on Saturday.
I'll be live at 9 a.m. I know you got to get up here pretty soon too, but I'll be live in 8 hours and 14 minutes previewing this Boise State Grand Canyon game.
I'll be up in 4 hours, so hopefully I'm awake driving into about 40 minutes into work in the morning. So that's all right. It's all right. That's why another night in the Mountain West. We only got a couple more months of this, so let's roll.
Appreciate
all right,
it,
everybody.
Man. It was fun. You're doing a great job, man. Nice work.
Appreciate it. See you guys soon. Good night.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.